Welcome and welcome back to Carren's Couch. This week, wait till you see who I've got joining me on the couch. Stunning, breathtaking, beautiful, and English. Yes, 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 she is. Sam Mutimer is our guest for this week on Carren's Couch. She's amazing. Actually, I'm going to say amaze balls, because if you follow me, you know that's what I say. This week, I decided to bring you everything social media. Now, I don't know about you guys. You know, I find sometimes social media is the most amazing thing that's ever been invented, because I can stay in touch with friends, I can connect with you, I know what's going on. If I get a thought, I can share it. If I want to rant, I can share it with you. But other times, I have to be honest, I find social media a noose around my neck. And you know what else? I cannot keep up. It's constantly changing. The minute I get used to Facebook, it changes. The minute I think that Facebook's the best medium to be in, somebody says, get off Facebook, Facebook died, it's so yesterday, Google Plus is where it's happening. What the hell? I don't know. What am I supposed to do? I love social media from a social perspective, but what about social media from a business perspective? Is it the best option, or is it a wealth hazard? Because it's addictive. And I want to know, what have I got to do on social media to get a return on my investment for my time if I'm going to be using it for business? So I want you and everybody that's listening and everybody that's watching to join me in welcoming Sam Mutimer to the couch, because she is the CEO and director of Think Tank Social, one of Australia's most extraordinary social media advisors and strategists. And on her website, she says she's totally obsessed with social media. So I think we've brought you the best of the best. Join me in welcoming Sam to the couch. Sam, welcome. Welcome to Carren's Couch. Yay. I'm so excited to be talking to somebody who's an expert on social media. My love, tell me, before we get started on all of the beautiful guts of content that you're going to talk to us about today, tell us a little bit about what you do. What's Think Tank Social? How long have you been going? What do you do?
Sure. We're a social media agency, so we've been going since 2008. We made the big, bold move in 2008 to go, let's niche in social media. We know it's gaining traction in the States, let's niche it here in Australia. And over that time, over those 6 years, we've worked with small to medium-sized businesses, and now we're working with larger-sized brands and government organisations. So within that time as well, we've really seen the shifts in social media. Back in 2007, hardly any business or brand was playing in this space, whereas now pretty much every brand that we know has a social media presence. That's a large-sized brand and government organisation.
And it seems to me that it's like desperately needed. It's the way of the future. In your kind of business, though, inside of social media, I checked out your page and I just looked at Facebook. I didn't see Twitter or any of your other social media platforms. But you guys have got close to 16,000 followers on Facebook, and in a really competitive environment. That's really good.
Yeah, look, it is good. And we do get some great insights and comments, and the majority of the people that do follow us are like your marketing managers, your small business owners, so it's a really targeted following. And the engagement on our content's great as well, which is good to know. I mean, that space, especially Facebook, is there to provide insight and to educate and to, I suppose, explain a little bit more around the role social media plays in marketing communications.
Yeah, and you've got a team that works with you, because you're not just on your own building this social media empire, are you?
No, we've got a team here of 10 now. If we look back to 2008, there was only 3 of us. So we're rapidly growing, and yeah, we'll be expanding, probably having another 2 employees on within the next 6 months. It's definitely an area that a lot of brands are focusing on at the moment. They need to plan the space. They just don't know exactly how to do it. And that's why agencies like us are there to support and recommend and strategize around the best way forward into social. And
that's why we've come to you to be on Carren's Couch, because we don't know how to do it all. This is the part that just, the mind boggles, because I think about social media, and as much as I love it, I hate it. You know, as much as I think it's such a necessary part of business and connecting, at the same time, it's so time consuming, and it's all consuming. You know, you get in a conversation and you can't get out of it. Because you know, well, for me personally, if I get in a conversation on a thread, I want to continue it. I want to see what people are saying next. I keep checking back in, and It's addictive.
It's addictive. It's disruptive. It's powerful. It's the way that many brands need to be playing now in 2014, because that's where the ears are, that's where the eyeballs are. If you think about watching the TV these days, a lot of people would sit down and they'll probably have their mobile phone device or a tablet device in their hands. We're really turning into like a 2 to 3 screen generation, as opposed to maybe 5 years ago. We'd back and we'd watch TV and maybe fast forward through the ads or go and make a cup of coffee. We live in a really disrupted world now, which is great for brands.
I guess from that point of view, that's really what I want to explore with you, because, even just the other day, my partner and I were out having dinner, and the two of us were looking at a couple that were across from us, and he was looking one way and I was looking the other way, and we noticed that there were like 4 couples around us, and none of them were talking. They were just scrolling up and down on their phones, and then they'd show each other a picture or they'd have a laugh about something, and it was kind of, whatever they were talking about, be it Pinterest or Instagram or whatever they were flicking around on their phones, became the basis of their conversations. Mm. And it made me think about that from even just a business point of view. The old traditional ways of getting our brand out into the marketplace, have they lost their place? Like, has traditional print media and radio media and television media, has all that, what's happening to all of that? I mean, I even know newspapers are going bust and television stations are going bust. YouTube and the kind of thing that I'm doing here with you now is starting to have real traction. Are we in like this huge big transition phase? We
are, and look, we probably have been for the last years. I mean, look back 10 years ago, we've made a fundamental way in the way we've shifted in the way we communicate these days. And back then it was over the landline, and we did email. And nowadays we can access anyone at any time if we choose to, as long as we have an internet connection. So traditional forms of media absolutely do still play a strong role. And nowadays, the brands that are really nailing it are using that traditional media, if they have the budget for it, to integrate social in from the start as well. So if there is a television ad, how do we integrate social media in and extend the story, collect the data, as opposed to, back 3 years ago, you just distribute information.
So how do you do that then? If a company or a business is running print media in their local newspapers or their city newspapers, so what you're saying is we need to incorporate social media into the story so that it gets more leverage?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Traditional forms of media are probably not a number one selection these days. They cost a lot of money. Social media is an easy entry point, and you can reach people at scale and at speed. And if you've got a really compelling message and you know what you want to achieve from it, it's probably going to be a much more powerful channel for you than actually popping an ad in your local rag. You can't measure that. You don't know who said what about it. You don't know where they went after it. Social provides all those insights into who shared it, how many times did they engage with you before they chose to go to your website and then purchase a product, for example, or walk through into your shop or your store. It's more integrated. Social media is not siloed and sit by itself. If you do have the coin to spend on traditional, then absolutely you'd want to be integrating that in from the start.
It's interesting actually that you say that, and I guess it's kind of put me back in my box a little bit, because I think I look at social media and I put so much time into it, but I forget that social media does allow me to measure it. Because very quickly, if I run advertisements on social media, and most of the people who follow me and are listening to the show or watching the show, most of you guys know that I run seminars across Australia and also in the UK and in the States on professional speaking, so teaching business people and entrepreneurs how to speak in public. So I'll use social media to promote when I'm running those seminars, and I do the paid advertising. But very quickly, within a day, I can see whether what I've put up is actually working or not working, and then I know I need to change it. And I guess that's a real advantage from a business point of view that traditional media doesn't give us.
No, it doesn't. It's a one-way form of distribution. If a social campaign's bombing out, absolutely you can change it. You have the opportunity to yeah, control that to some extent. And it gives you so many insights into obviously who's clicked on it at what time, how old they were, especially if you're looking at the Facebook platform, where do they live, are they married? You know, we get all of that information. Are they an entrepreneur? The Facebook readily gives us that then we can choose to, you know, develop that advert or that piece of content that we want to pump into the Facebook newsfeed to gain more traction on it.
So Sam, look, you know, you're talking about Facebook and I'm talking about Facebook, but there's the word on the street is that Facebook is very quickly going to become yesterday's news and Google Plus is taking over, or, you know, there's you know, so much talk about what's best and what's not best. What the hell? Like, where do the mind just boggles on it. And how do we even keep up? What do we do?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of platforms out there, and absolutely Facebook isn't the be-all and end-all. It does, however, have over 13 million active users in Australia on that platform. So, of course, if you're going for the big guns, Facebook's going to be your number one. But there's other channels now that are rapidly increasing up, I suppose, the top 10 social media networks, and the likes of Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat, Twitter, YouTube, Google+, they're all there too. So it's really about who do you really want to connect with and what's your message? If you're looking at a B2B market, you probably won't be looking at your Facebook and Instagrams. You may be looking at your LinkedIn and Twitters. Whereas if you're looking at that really young demo, let's say 13 to 25-year-olds, you're probably going to look at Snapchat because they're not choosing to spend their time on Facebook anymore. So it's really understanding your message and then the best platform to get it out there, and obviously to engage that audience and get them to do something.
How does a normal business person know the demographic of all the different platforms?
Well, they can chuck into Google. You know what? The average business person probably wouldn't know that. I mean, we live and breathe it, so we're always researching it and understanding if a business comes to us, what's going to be the most feasible platform. But of course, there's a lot of blogs out there now, and Google is our best friend. And so, I mean, if you type into Google, I'm sure there's going to be the top 10 platforms in Australia within March and the demographics associated with them.
So how do we get the best return on our time investment when it comes to social media?
Yeah, that's a great question. Now, with social, a lot of brands we see will just jump on, for example, Facebook and do it because everyone else is doing it. And what you need to have in 2014 is absolutely to have a strategy and to have a content strategy. You need to know what you want to achieve from social media and how are you going to measure it? What does success look like? Why would people like your Facebook page? Or follow you on Instagram, or choose to follow you on LinkedIn. There's a whole bunch of questions that need to be asked prior to you even mapping out that strategy. Just like when you open up the doors in a business, you have a business plan. You need a social media plan, otherwise you're absolutely going to fail. You'll waste time, money will go down the toilet, and you won't really know what you're doing there. And that's where the time suck does come in, where people are just randomly putting up posts and hoping for the best. And the consumer these days is super savvy. Like, we know that you guys or businesses are pumping information out, but it's the businesses that take a step back and go, you know what? I know that my audience likes this, and I know I'm going to add value to content in this way. And that's where it comes down to a content strategy, like understanding what do they want from me and how do I provide it to them in a really easy, digestible way, in a really quick scrolling generation.
And if you've got that plan, if you've got a content plan and you know what your audience loves or what your core message is, and then you create that plan, then it's much easier to execute a plan rather than throw random stuff up, as you say, and just hope for the best and see what works, which I think a lot of people in business do, because they don't know that the strategy is, I guess, the driving force to the success.
Absolutely it is. And I mean, once you do have that in place, and let's say you're throwing 5 hours in a week, you're like, I've invested 5 hours, but I know that from those 5 hours, I've now got 362 new hits to my website. Out of those, I might be using words that some people might not use. It's staying on my website a little bit longer. And actually, from my traffic referral from Facebook, I'm converting 20% of that. So if you know what you want to achieve from the start, then you can then work your way backwards and develop the content to get that.
I love that.
Does that make sense?
So when yeah, absolutely. You cut out just a little bit there. So I'm going to rephrase what you just said. If you know what your results are, if you know, and forgive me if I get this wrong, if you know the results and the outcome you want to get, you can develop your content and your strategy to create that outcome. Is that right?
Absolutely. So like a lot of businesses will say, right, we're going to use social media to ensure that people are aware of our brand within the Sydney area. We're going to use social media to increase traffic to our website. We're going to use social media to give insight behind the brand and educate people around the product or the industry. So already they know what they want to achieve, and they started to develop that content to either send people to the website, to get them to pick up the phone, to educate them, to get them to share it with their friends.
Oh, we are so hooking up for a consultation after this show.
I think I froze there.
So what sort of content works best for the different platforms?
Yes, that's a great question. So with most of the platforms, visual content works best.
Visual content.
Visual content, especially these days, really clean, professional visual content, not just stuff that you pull from Google Images. Nowadays, it's really easy to create good, clean content. Most people have smartphone devices with awesome cameras, and it's about creating that visual content and giving the user something to do. Do we want them to go to the website? Do we want them to share it with their friends? Do we want them to take a picture and share it on our Facebook page? If you're looking at text on Facebook, 250 characters or less generally works. Anything longer, you start to lose the user.
Right.
Because you think about it, we're scrolling down on newsfeed. We don't want to see a whole bunch of text. Yeah. We want to see something that adds value, that grabs our attention and gets us to do something.
Yeah.
If you're thinking Instagram or Twitter, absolutely you want to be thinking about hashtag strategy. And when I say that, sometimes that will go over some people's heads.
It just did. I'm telling you, it just did. It just went whoosh, straight out. It went hashtag, hashtag. Hashtag's got to be the biggest thorn in my side because every time I hear it, I go blank.
Love good hashtags. Hashtags help your content get found.
Right.
And at the end of the day, right, every business wants the user to talk about their brand. And if you can create a hashtag or leverage off another hashtag the user's already using, then that's going to be able to get your content out there and you're going to be able to measure it. People can then look at those hashtags and say, for example, Carren's Couch, hashtag Carren's Couch, chuck it into Instagram. I can see the picture that one of our account managers has taken up on there. I can see, other visuals that people have taken, and it's all filtered in one area underneath hashtag Carren's Couch.
Yeah, right. So it's like you say, content filter. Okay, yeah. Cool. So that's Instagram and Twitter.
Oh, that was Instagram, Twitter, hashtags. And then we've got platforms like heavily dominated by women, Pinterest. So really, really visual, really awesome for the fashion industry. And actually, it's a really, really industry that is choosing to communicate with a female demo in Australia. It's a visual pin board. So let's just say my boards are getting prepared to speak to Carren on Carren's Couch. I can see a jacket I want to wear, so I'll pin that to my board. I can see a hairstyle I want to have. I'll pin that to my board. I'll see a piece of jewellery I want to have. I'll pin that to my board. I'll see the sunshine post. I'll pin that to my board. So you've got this visual board with all of these images on, which if you click on the image, it will take you back to the website.
Do you know, I've only just got onto Pinterest. I'm going to be honest. I'm just going to put it out there for everybody that's listening and watching the show. I just got onto Pinterest and I can't work it out. I'm seeing all of the pictures and I'm loving all of the pictures that I get to scroll through, and I'm a real animal lover, so I'm finding beautiful, cute pictures of animals, and I've managed to create a board. I've managed to, get pictures across and pin them. And I'm loving that because I find because it is so visual and I am a visual person, it's actually really, I find it quite meditative actually. I find it quite cathartic to just sit and scroll through beautiful visual experiences. And I think Pinterest, it's actually really amazing. So I'm looking forward to mastering that. What about the likes of Google Plus and Foursquare and LinkedIn and whatever else there is out there?
Yeah, look, Google Plus is not really it's a social network, but it's not being used as a social network in Australia. Where it really does add value is from a search perspective. So putting content up on Google Plus will absolutely assist in your organic rankings in Google. Will you be having a whole bunch of conversation on there? Probably not as much as what you would on Facebook or Instagram or any other social platform, but it does have a really important role to play in search right now. And that may change later on down the track, but it's pretty much tumbleweed. Our tumbleweed are blowing down Google Plus's funnels at the moment. There's not too much chatter there.
And there's lots of other, I don't know if you'd call, I don't even have the language for it. You'll be able to tell me, like Hootsuite and Buffer, where you can go in and post all of your posts for a week and schedule them, and then it just disseminates them all out to all the different social media platforms. Talk to us a little bit about that, and then I really want to finish off the show by exploring what's coming next, because I guess I've just resigned myself, and I'm sure everybody that's listening to the show has resigned themselves to the fact that this is a reality and social media is here to stay. So we better get used to it and we better get good at it, especially if it's going to be a part of our business strategy. And I think for any business, just from what you're saying, any business who's not paying attention to social media, they're going to pay a price.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So talk to us about some of those platforms or sites that we can go to. What else? What are there? What are the best ones that we can use?
There's a few out there. Absolutely. Before you start plugging content into those sites, those scheduler sites, you need to be aware of what type of content you're going to put out there. So let's just say you want to focus on content that's educational, that's transactional, so transactional meaning taken into the website, and inspirational. So once you've got that content, you can start to go, there's 7 days in the week. I know that on Monday is when my Facebook page gets hit up the most, so I'm going to put a transactional piece of content in there. So you can use a system like Hootsuite, Sprout Social, LocoWise. We use LocoWise. That's probably the best one out there at the moment, to schedule those posts in, and then off they go. What you need to remember, though, is that once those posts have gone out, you've got to be there to engage and connect with people who are asking questions. Etiquette in terms of the turnaround time. You don't want to leave them hanging for 42 hours. Most people expect on Facebook, if they're going to ask a question, that you get back to them within business hours, within an hour. So they're great for uploading all that content and sending it out there. But then again, you still need to be aware of engaging with that content.
And I think the thing that I love about those scheduling sites is that it forces you to plan. So for those people who haven't been doing their content plans and their strategies, those scheduling sites force you to do that. And I think it's a good thing. What's coming next? Tell us, we've got a short amount of time left on the show. What have we got coming up next? What do we have to keep our eyes out for?
Yeah, probably the main thing I'd say, there's a lot, but the one thing that I'd definitely be aware of is Google Glass. It's not in Australia just yet. It's actively being rolled out in the States. There's some glasses, you put them on, and inside of your glass, it's basically like looking at your mobile phone screen. It's voice activated, so you can talk to these glasses, and basically they will give you any amount of information in the moment. So, for example, we're working with Eureka Skydeck, and when you go to the top of Eureka Skydeck, at times it can be quite cloudy. So we thought, how do we add to the experience? So fast forward to when Google Glass launches, you rock up, you put your Google Glass on, and you go Melbourne, or you go Eureka Skydeck, or even you go Google Glass. Show me what Melbourne looked like 100 years ago. And it would augment the reality, and you feel like you're looking at Melbourne 100 years ago. Show me what Melbourne looked like 50 years ago. Does the same thing. So it's augmenting reality and making things feel even more real.
This is insane. So I can talk to the glasses. So is the glasses like a computer?
Yeah, it's like a computer chip right here. When you wink, it takes a photo.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah.
Really?
It does. And it will tell you where to go, for example. So if I said, take me to Carren's Couch's studio and I'm down the road, it will actually show me. I could say, show me how many people have checked in at Carren's Couch studio. It will show me out of my friends. In America, there's hospitals using it at the moment, actually, and the doctors will have their Google Glass on and they'll say, show me what patient status is like in room 3. And then in the glass, they'll see the blood pressure, the heart rate, what medication they're on.
Oh, my.
It's already being used over there. It's coming here. It will happen. It's not as if it's a fad. It's going to happen. And brands, businesses need to be aware of the fact that it is coming and they need to start planning.
Are we going to see people walking down the streets, everybody with glasses on? How are we not going to bump into each other? Is it only one eye?
No. They're just like normal glasses. I mean, I think they've already got prescription glasses out, and I'm pretty sure...
This is amazing to me.
Ray-Ban have designed some, and there's fashion brands that are now designing them as well. There will be, Carren, like absolutely, we will be wearing them. And people will go, oh, that's weird. No, we won't. But, you know, if I said to you 15 years ago, we're all going to be sitting in front of a computer, a lot of people would be like, no, we're not. But,
yeah. I remember when years ago, when mobile phones first came out, I was working with with Optus. I started working with Optus. As soon as they came into the marketplace, I worked with them. And I remember these huge, big phones, you know, these massive Motorola phones. And I remember them saying, pretty soon the phones are going to be this big, they're going to have a camera in the back, and you'll be able to take video and photos of your friends. And I remember thinking to myself, that's ridiculous. Who would want to do that? Much less who on earth wants to have a phone in their pocket? Like, no one's going to call me anyway. And, you know, and I remember thinking that, and now, you know, I feel like I'm naked if I don't have my phone. I get all insecure about it. And it's amazing how technology shapes the way that the way that we just interact in the world, and we just get used to it.
Yeah. I'm
blown away by these glasses. And you're saying that Ray-Ban is already making the glasses. They're already doing some designs. Yeah.
There's another brand as well, Oakley. That's it. They've also done some. Yeah.
Shut the front door.
It's shut.
This is amazing. Wow. Yeah. So no doubt there's going to be a whole bunch of other technology that's going to be brought into the marketplace to compete with Google Glass?
Yeah, there will be. Facebook's bought something. What's it called, Adam? What's Facebook's glasses called? Oh, I don't know. They bought glasses too. It basically augments your reality as well. So yeah, they all want to play in that space. They know it's where everything's heading. So yeah.
Wow. You know, I saw a movie not so long ago where people actually just got to lay in their bed and they wore these glasses over the top of their faces, and they had, through voice activation, they had these virtual bodies actually walking out on the streets interacting with each other. So that way I could look like Angelina Jolie while I'm lying in bed and my hair's all over the show. And it was actually quite mind-blowing, but I guess it's probably going to be a reality one day.
Oh, it will be. I mean, some of that stuff's happening already. I won't go into any more detail, but within the adult industry, I know that stuff's happening there already. So,
oh, nice. Well, perhaps we need to do a show on that. Sam, you've been amazing, and thank you so much for joining us on the show. I think that it would be really cool to be constantly staying ahead of the challenges and the changes that take place in social media. So thank you so much for being part of educating our audience on what social media is and how to make the most of it. You've given me some really great insights, but I can tell you now I'm definitely booking in for a consultation after the show because I know nothing. And I thought I was okay, but I know nothing.
Hashtag winning, Carren.
I love it. So Sam, how can our audience and our listeners get more of you if they want to do some more research on you or make contact with you? How do they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. If you like looking at websites, check out thinktanksocial.com.au. If you're a Facebook user, pop in Think Tank Social into the search bar. Same with LinkedIn, Twitter. We're everywhere. So just search Think Tank Social, will pop up, and you'll see our work.
That's fabulous. And we'll also make sure that we put your website links underneath this video. So our listeners, thinktanksocial.com.au or Think Tank Social on Facebook. And for those of you guys who are watching the show, thinktanksocial.com.au, and the website's on the page underneath the show. Sam, you've been amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. So much fun, so much to explore. Really, really cool stuff. And I think from a business point of view, you can't not know this. We can't ignore it. And I don't think too many people are resisting it anymore, but I think that staying ahead of the game and moving with the trend and the ebbs and the flows of where our niche audiences are, I think that's probably the number one thing that we've got to be aware of in business. So hopefully you guys have all loved the show as much as I have. I've had so much fun with Sam. We're definitely going to get her back on the show. That's the surprise, Sam. So this has been really, really cool. I hope you've loved this chat. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere because we've got Carren's Corner coming right up. Here we are on Carren's Corner, and welcome. Thanks for joining us. Right here next to me, we've got our resident money man, Peter Audette. Welcome.
Hey.
Today, we're going to be talking about self-managed super funds. That's a tongue twister. You know, everybody's talking about it and how you can buy property with your super. I didn't even know that that was possible. I didn't think that was legal. How come everybody's talking about it? What have I missed?
There was a change in legislation over recent years that has allowed people to be able to, through a trust, be able to borrow money to buy property in superannuation. So we'd all be fairly familiar with negative gearing into investment properties by borrowing using the bank.
Yep.
Super funds have not usually been able to borrow money.
That's what I thought. I thought that was the rules in a super fund.
Yeah. So there was a change in the legislation that has opened up this window where people are able to set up a trust and use some money from the super fund together with borrowing money from the bank and go out and buy investment properties. My understanding at the moment is that it's the single most popular thing that's being talked about in the financial services industry. Yeah. From the consumer's perspective. So there's a lot of consumer-driven interest in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the perpetual Australian love affair with investment properties.
Yeah.
And so many people have not been in a position where they've been able to have a deposit to go and buy an investment property.
And your superannuation seems like a really great place to go.
Everyone's got compulsory superannuation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. My concern, and it's not to do with property itself, and I want to make that clear, there's no property bashing going on. My concern is it's a great opportunity from a sales perspective. If you are a property development business or a property company, there are some that are around that are in a position where they are marketing directly to people to get them to use self-managed superannuation as a means of buying properties. So they've found an angle where they can find people who may not otherwise be able to afford to do it, who've got savings in superannuation, and they can get them into a position where they can buy an investment property. And as always, and I think every time you and I talk about these things, we always start with the same thing, is that if someone walks in and starts with the product, you should leave the room. That you have to have a strategy and a structure. You have to know what it is that you're trying to achieve before you make any investment decisions. And my greatest concern is that a lot of people are starting with the property purchase decision and trying to make everything else fit around it. And they're not necessarily looking at whether or not it's right for them, whether or not they're creating a lack of diversification amongst the different investment assets that they've got, whether or not there's enough revenue in their superannuation from their employment to pay the debt down in an appropriate fashion, whether they're over-leveraging, and the list goes on and on and on.
But it's hard to know that when there's so much hype about it and so much conversation about it. And if you are dealing with somebody who is selling a product, and I love how you say if somebody tries to sell your product, leave. But when you're caught up in that, and all you're hearing is self-managed super fund, you've got $150,000 in your super fund, go and buy a property, go on, go you good thing, go and do it. and all that you're thinking is, oh my goodness, I've never been able to afford a property in my life before, a second property or an investment. It seems to make sense. And then if the financial advisors are suggesting that we do it, how does a person see through the... Well, I guess you've just told us, haven't you, really?
Well, look, it's not necessarily wrong. I think that's important to understand.
Yeah.
All investments are good, but they're not good for everybody. So you need to not necessarily... It's very difficult to go between a good investment and a bad investment. It's easier to look at things in terms of, more often than not, the investment is appropriate, but it's got to be appropriate for you.
And that was going to be my next question. How do we know what's a good investment? But I know that's not what we're talking about, but I was going to ask you.
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting one. I think it's important to seek advice from someone that knows what they're talking about, and it's always very, very important that the conversation is about your own goals and your own resources and the capacity that you have to meet your obligations and for it to do something for you in your life. It can't just be because we can get an investment property. It's just not good enough. So
self-managed super fund or not self-managed super fund, you still have to be thinking about when you're buying any kind of investment, you still have to have the same objectives. Yeah,
because you might even find, and you often do find, that the investment property idea may be a wonderful idea for that particular person, but it may be far more beneficial for it to not be in the super fund. So the idea now that we can use these self-managed super funds to buy property, I think it just adds another option to your planning. And again, it shouldn't be the thing you start with. It should just be one of the things in your toolbox, in the arsenal of things that you can do, where you go, I know the things I need to achieve. I know the resources that I've got to achieve them so that I can retire comfortably. Now let's make a balanced decision about where these things should be and how they fit me and my life, not just... And I suppose to think about the worst case scenario is just going to a seminar where they stand up and sell the property because they don't care who you are,
absolutely,
or what you have or what your goals are, and it's not a bad thing that they don't care. I think they're very transparent and they're saying, if you come to our seminar, we're here to sell your property in a self-managed super fund, let the buyer beware. It's your idea to go along. So I'm not suggesting that there's anything nefarious about it, but that's not the kind of environment where they're going to ask you if it fits you. They're going to try and make it fit you, and that's not sensible.
So you want to know before you go to a seminar like that, not during that seminar. So who's the best person to ask? Wrap us up. Accountant, financial planner, or both, to get that advice?
Look, I think a financial planner is an excellent person to speak to in terms of setting an overall future goals and context.
Right.
I think that's the most important thing. Your accountant can always be very helpful, but I think a planner's role in our society is about asking you the questions about where you want to be and getting you to articulate it and document it and understand it and own it. Take responsibility for it so that you get where you need to be. Because I think when one of my great friends always says to me that things are supposed to be hard because when they win the grand final, they're not high-fiving because it was easy. They're hugging each other because it was bloody difficult and they did it. And so some of these things are difficult, but if you try hard and you put time into it and you set your goals and you achieve them, it's not just a comfortable retirement you end up with. You end up with this wonderful feeling. You've done it. You know, and it's really important. I think it's a really special way of thinking about it.
Yeah. Oh, I love your take on it. Just awesome. Thank you. Thanks for that. So self-managed super funds, get educated. Get educated across the board, but I love the fact that what we're talking about now is about planning and getting clear, and for most people they don't do that. We just live day to day and we hope for the best, and we invest our money here and put our money there and hope for the best, and there's nothing strategic about it. So that's the message from today's Carren's Corner. When it comes to your money and it comes to your future, get strategic. Don't leave it to chance. You have the opportunity to be in control of your money and make it work for you. Don't miss it and don't wait till it's too late. Hopefully you've enjoyed our chat today on Carren's Corner with Pete. Make sure that you post all of your questions underneath this video and also go to our Facebook page on Carren's Couch. And when you're listening to the podcast, give us a 5-star rating. Tell everybody that you know about Carren's Couch. Let's spread the word. Let's start getting everybody savvy when it comes to the way they live their lives on purpose. Thanks for joining us here on Carren's Couch. It's been an absolute treat to share it with you, and we're going to see you right here again next week. Cheers. Bye for now.